On your table are question slips. Kindly fill the question slips with questions that will be taken during the Q&A session. The question slips, completed question slips should please be handed over to the ushers. Thank you. For the people in front, please, the question slips are in the carrier bag that's in front of you. Thank you. Good morning again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for being a part of this critical dialogue that is aimed at improving the business environment. My name is Joy Lawal, and I am honored to be the moderator of this event. With me is Ms. Usaina Abdulkadir, who would also be anchoring this event alongside. This is the second existing direct foreign investors roundtable and the launch of Nigeria's regulatory impact analysis framework. As it's customary in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I invite you to please rise as we take the national anthem as our opening prayer. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please have your seat. To kick off today's agenda, please permit me to welcome the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadija, to deliver the welcome speech. Please join me in welcoming him with a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much, the Master of Ceremony. Your Excellencies, the Executive Governor of Benue State, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Osun State, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. I can see my good friend, the Controller General of Customs, the heads of ministries, departments, and agencies, members of the press, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the American Business Council, Eurocham, the Indonesia-Nigeria Chamber of Commerce, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the second Foreign Direct Investors Roundtable and the launch of Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Analysis Framework, or RIA. The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, was established in 2016 to oversee Nigeria's business environment intervention and is a top priority of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in line with the 8-point Renewed Hope agenda of his administration. The third cohort of the Council was inaugurated on November 16, 2023, with 24 members from all arms and levels of government. The PEBEC Secretariat is responsible for the implementation of the PEBEC mandate by working closely with all arms and levels of government and has implemented over 180 verifiable business reforms since inception through the collaborative effort of all stakeholders. In January, the PEBEC released its 2025 Outlook document, which contained Nigeria's business and investment climate reforms through 6 strategic pillars: regulatory reforms, which continue to deepen the implementation of the Business Facilitation Act 2022, legislative and judicial reforms, namely the establishment of small claims court in the 36 states and the FCT, the subnational state ease of doing business reforms, which is the ranking of states and the Federal Capital Territory on how easy it is to do business at the subnational level, and the implementation of a first-of-its-kind $750 million Performance for Results State Action for Business Enabling Reforms, or SABRE program, co-designed by the PEBEC Secretariat and the World Bank to improve the business environment at the subnational level. We also have the innovation and technology reform to boost technology adoption by MDAs and to automate processes for improved efficiency, and the strategic communication, which is disseminating information about the mandate and reforms and ensuring the widespread awareness and comprehension among business and key stakeholders, and the PEBEC Business Champions Program, an intervention program by the PEBEC that provides direct support to 23 large businesses with over $1 billion in revenue, along with other medium, large-scale enterprises to stimulate economic growth and development. And at this point in time, I'd like to recognize the efforts and hard work put in achieving this by none other than our own Dr. Jumoke Oduole, the erstwhile Director General of PEBEC, who is now Minister for Trade and Investment, but who also continues to serve PEBEC because by her office, she's also the Vice Chairman. Thank you very much, Dr. Jumoke, for all you've done for PEBEC, and I believe part of the reason we're here is to carry on the good work that you started close to almost 8 years ago. Today's Foreign Direct Investors Roundtable and launch of the Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Assessment Framework provides a collaborative platform for fostering discussions on a cohesive regulatory environment where our regulatory actions will align with national economic goals, making Nigeria a more attractive destination for business and investment. Through your participation and active contributions, this roundtable will play a critical role in transforming Nigeria's regulatory landscape, ensuring that it enhances our global business competitiveness. Our collective aspiration is that the outcomes from the launch of Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Assessment Framework, along with the insights and lessons from existing regulatory initiatives, will drive measurable impact for productivity and competitiveness across key sectors to improve the Nigerian business environment and support the economic initiatives of the government. I am confident that deliberations and outcomes of this FDI roundtable will contribute significantly to reinforcing PEBEC's role in shaping the ease of doing business in Nigeria. Thank you once again for making the effort to travel from near and far to be a part of this event, and good morning.
Thank you, sir, for the remarkable address. We look forward to seeing the great outcomes that would come out from this dialogue and how PEBEC would help implement this going forward. Thank you. Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, next we will hear from the Director General of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, Princess Zara Mustafa Audu, who will present the findings from the recent survey conducted on foreign investors operating in Nigeria. Please join me in welcoming the Director General.
The Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Your Excellencies, the Executive Governor of Benue State, the Deputy Governor of Osun State, the Central Bank Governor, the Honorable, Your Excellency, the Vice Chair of PEBEC, and the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Your Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, the Executive Secretary of NIPC, heads of departments and agencies, presidents of business councils and chambers here present, distinguished captains of industry, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, media friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to address this esteemed gathering of visionary leaders, policy shapers, and key stakeholders at today's event, the existing Foreign Direct Investors Roundtable and Regulators Forum, as well as the launch of Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Analysis Framework. Today marks a pivotal moment in our collective journey to building a globally competitive, prosperous, and inclusive Nigeria, one where investors and businesses thrive, innovation flourishes, and regulations are clear. Permit me to stop at this point and just thank my predecessor, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Investment, for the remarkable job that she's done so far with PEBEC. I think I'll wait for 1 minute. We've just... So we welcome His Excellency, the Enugu State Governor. I'll carry on from where I stopped. So I was saying I want to formally thank the Vice Chair of PEBEC, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, for the amazing work that she's done, creating a platform that we can now start to build on. The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council was born out of a pressing need to address long-standing obstacles to doing business in Nigeria. The Council's core mandate has been clear and unwavering: to remove the constraints to doing business and to foster a business-friendly climate through legislative, administrative, and policy-driven reforms. Over the years, PEBEC has delivered over 200 bold reforms across various sectors. As we chart our way forward in 2025, our focus would still be around our 6 strategic work streams, each of which have been crucial in sustaining the progress that PEBEC has made to date. Today's launch of the Regulatory Impact Analysis Framework, which is a core mandate of our regulatory reforms, exemplifies our commitment to creating a robust and predictable regulatory environment. This framework will ensure that all the new regulations undergo comprehensive assessment to evaluate their economic, social, and environmental impact, minimizing unnecessary hurdles on businesses while safeguarding public interest. Our efforts at the subnational level through the state action plans for state action plans for enabling business reforms, SABER program, continues to set a new benchmark for state level performance. With $750 million in funding support co-designed with the World Bank, SABER incentivizes states to implement reforms that directly impact SMEs, create jobs, and attract investment. Public-private dialogue remains key for us, as our reforms are only as effective as their implementation and perception. Through strategic engagements like today's forum, we are building trust, ensuring stakeholders ahead, and sharing Nigeria's progress with global business communities. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, foreign direct investment remains the lifeblood of any emerging country seeking for rapid growth, job creation, and technology transfer. FDI is particularly crucial for Nigeria as we embark on this journey to diversify our economy, reduce our reliance on oil revenue, and unlock the full potential of our human capital and natural resources. However, to attract FDI, we must retain our existing investors. We must continue to streamline our regulatory processes, and that's obviously However, to attract and retain FDI, we must continue to streamline our regulatory processes. With the launch of the RIA framework, we are creating a predictable, transparent, and business-friendly regulatory environment that minimizes compliance hurdles. By collaborating with local and international institutions, we can bridge the infrastructure gap to enhance productivity and reduce the cost for doing business. PEBEC will continue to catalyze these changes, working closely with stakeholders across government, business, and civil society to ensure that Nigeria becomes the investment destination of choice in Africa. Together, let's pave the way for a prosperous Nigeria, one where businesses can grow, investments can flourish, and the lives of millions of Nigerians can be uplifted. With that being said, I'm going to go on and look at the survey report from our foreign investors. This is the second of this event that we are having. Is the report up? Okay. As some of you know in the room, I started as the technical aide to the President on Foreign Direct Investment, Office of the Vice President, which is why this is the second existing Foreign Direct Investors Roundtable we're having. Coincidentally, this was married with our PEBEC launch of the framework for policies before the announcement of my position as the DG of PEBEC. So I guess it's God's doing that this event came together the way it has. With that, I'm going to go back to the survey report that we had initially shared some questionnaires to our foreign investors, to our existing foreign investors, basically to get their input and help guide and shape the agenda for today's meeting. We worked very, very closely with our technical partners, PwC, to put this report together. So once again, we thank them. I thank the American Business Council for their continuous support. I thank Eurocham and all the other business councils that have supported by bringing their members. I would encourage our business councils to be more involved in the planning of some of this event, and also to be more involved with us when we're trying to put together our stakeholder engagements, just to help guide us moving forward with regards to the kind of policies and reforms and how we decide to implement stuff. So some of the questions that we asked, very similar to the last time, we wanted to know how long companies had been in Nigeria. On average, we had companies that had been in Nigeria between 11 to 72 years. This basically shows the longevity and also the fact that how some companies have settled and you obviously started to see Nigeria as maybe a second home. That's great for our investment sector. It's definitely encouraging for us to know that a lot of the companies are here, they're flourishing, and they've been here for a long time. We're hoping to keep them here, and this is why we're having engagements like this to continue to tell them that them being in Nigeria and doing business in Nigeria is very important to us. And as this administration is very focused on foreign direct investment, we're also making sure that our existing investors are well taken care of by having engagements and making sure that the policies that we deploy moving forward are well received by the investors. And for me, the way I look at it is, the way we treat our existing investors is the best way for us to attract new investors. You're the spokespeople that can go out there and tell people that Nigeria is ready for investment and is open, and doing business in Nigeria is a good option for other investors to come in. We also looked at the scale of companies by obviously looking at the number of employees, and we found that we had a huge number of businesses within the foreign businesses within the SME sector of Nigeria, which was quite interesting. Yes, we do have a few large multinationals, but a huge population of our foreign investors are still within the small to medium size, which was also something that we need to take into consideration moving forward. Something that was very interesting is that one of the major challenges that almost all the companies highlighted was our regulatory and policy formation process in Nigeria, and the lack of transparency and the lack of consistency. So it's very interesting that in as much as this survey came in, we're actually also launching a framework that is going to take care of some of the issues that are being addressed in the survey. I was working very closely with PwC, and they had said to me, Princess, it would be good for you to make some firm commitments. And I was a bit worried about making commitments because I'm in transition. I've barely been the DG at PEBEC for just over a week. So I was still thinking to myself, I need to be careful. But I mean, with the work that PEBEC has done, we have made commitment already. The framework is there, and that I can stand on, say, moving forward, because for me, it's all about continuity. Government is not about individual preferences. A strong foundation has been laid, and we're going to try our best to build on that. Our styles may be different, but the end goal will always be the same, which is to create a great business climate and environment for our businesses, both local and foreign investors in Nigeria. So moving forward, I can say that we've already started to take care of some of your critical issues, which were around policy formation, regulations, etc. This is what this framework is addressing. So I don't know if it was a stroke of genius that the HM and the Vice President and DCOS decided to marry the two events, but honestly, it's worked very seamlessly for us, and I think that's one of the commitments that we can stand on today, saying that how we are going to hold our MDAs accountable when it comes to policy formations. We're going to try as much as possible to stay consistent. We're going to try as much as possible to make sure that there is more collaboration between MDAs, and there's more consistency in policies so that things are not contradictory, and where there are gray areas, we're going to have more engagement with yourselves. Because for me, the way I look at PEBEC is the best people to tell us if we're doing it right are the end users, and the end users are in this room today. So we cannot score ourselves and say, oh, we've done it so fantastically or not, but hopefully in a year from now, and if we do have another engagement with you, you'd be able to say to us over a period of 1 year, you've done this and you've done that. This is supposed to be a very interactive session. Normally, I don't think I'm much of a talker. I believe more in action, but it's necessary for us from time to dialogue and really speak from our heart and connect so that we're able to, make tangible difference to Nigeria, which is the end goal anyway. So some of the top 3 reforms and policies that you would like to see that would improve Nigeria's business climate. I mean, one of the things that we spotted from the report was that how the issues around anti-corruption have clearly dropped from the last time we spoke. People are not really, it wasn't one of the major issues, which is a plus for our government. Infrastructure development, yes, I know a lot of the companies came back with complaints about, which is something we're working very strongly with. Another reason why, if you notice from the last event to this event, at the last event we did not have subnationals, but gradually we're trying to pull our subnationals in, because it's very important. Whatever plans or whatever policies are set are still deployed at the subnational level, and this is the level at which all our multinationals and even our local businesses play at. So it's important that the subnationals are well integrated into all the stuff that we are doing. Improve security issues. We see that there's a dip from the last 6 months. So for sure, our security infrastructure is getting stronger. As a whole, we have less cases of kidnaps, which is something that I know was a major issue for people within the mining sector. I know a lot of companies have returned to mining that had stopped for a period of time. So there's at least some progress in that area. Another question that was asked was one of the key things that was an indicator for us was the fact that how majority of the companies needed the Nigerian government to provide a stable and predictable policy environment. This is exactly what the policy framework we're launching today is going to do for you. It's going to help you have a more predictable and stable, policy environment. It's also going to help you be part of formation of these policies, because one of the things we are actively encouraging all our MDAs to do is have stakeholder engagement, sectorial engagement, smaller groups and exchange, and now there's a more thorough process to go through before a policy is actually passed, into law. So I think you, as well, a lot of the business councils and also the businesses generally should try as much as possible to engage with the MDAs who are relevant to their businesses and be involved when they're invited for stakeholder engagements and take active participation. We also found that people sort of skim through the questionnaires, but it's very important to note that with this administration, we're doing things differently. We're constantly asking for your input because we don't think we know it all. We think that with your input, we can work together to create the best environment. Understand that when you look at business from a government perspective, it's different from when you look at it from a private sector perspective. So it's important that we always marry the two. It's important that we see ourselves as stakeholders jointly working together for the progress of Nigeria. As long as you're invested in Nigeria, then you have to want the progress of the country, because anything else is also detrimental to your businesses and yourselves. So I think it's important that we see this as a partnership moving forward, especially as it regards to PEBEC. Our doors will always be open. We will be very responsive when it comes to calls, emails, etc. We're always open to engagements. It's a huge team. Like I said, my predecessor has left an amazing platform for us to build on. For me, we're going to be a lot more hands-on, very involved, and of course, she's still strongly involved as the vice chair. So I think right now as PEBEC, we're well positioned to help make a difference. I'm hoping that in a year from now, when we're back in this room, we'll all be back with more positive feedback. Do you have plans of expanding? That was very interesting for us, because about 66% of the companies came back with a big yes. So that tells us that yes, things are not perfect, but definitely there's hope. You're doing business and you're still considering expanding. So that was very interesting for us. Another thing is we specifically zeroed in and we wanted to know what specific states you would be interested in expanding into. And some of the feedback that came was also very interesting. We had states like Taraba, which means that we're going to approach the governor and work quite closely with the governor to make the business environment and the climate more friendly to attract you. We had states like Benue. Benue is present here. We had states like Enugu, which is quite interesting. The governor is also in the room. We had Osun. So, and then, of course, you kept with your Lagos and your Abuja, which is something that we love, but we keep encouraging you to please diversify. Nigeria has 36 states plus the FCT, and all the governors are willing and happy to create a better business environment. Some governors are even willing to create special incentives for our investors to come in, whether local or foreign. So this is something for all our investors to consider. I plead and encourage all our investors in the room. You're already in Nigeria. We have 3 governors in the room. Please approach them, discuss with them. They're here to show you their level of accessibility, their level of readiness for business. And also for our governors in the room, we have major multinationals. I don't want to drop names because then it looks like we're picking one over the other. But honestly, Your Excellencies, please engage. There's a lot of money in this room. Let's make sure that some of that money is transferred to other parts of Nigeria. So it's important that we do that. For us at PEBEC, one of the key things for us is practical results. The only way for us to be able to see that we're getting it right is by the outcome. So as much paperwork as we can do, it's all amazing, but unless the outcome shifts, unless we can actually see our ranking in ease of doing business globally, unless we can actually actively see ourselves moving up the ladder, then we haven't really done much. Unless you can actually come back to us and say you feel much more comfortable doing business in Nigeria, it's so much quicker for you to register your companies, then we haven't done much. So again, we keep saying, end user feedback, please, we're open. We want to do this differently and we want to do this right. And we want to do this with your help. So please keep engaging with us. We're happy. We've had a few proposals in this room this morning alone. We're happy to follow up with all the different proposals in different states and different locations. We'll come to you, we'll be part of your events, be more part of our events. The end goal is just to improve the business climate in Nigeria. I'm going to try and wrap up because it's a bit long, and everybody would have a copy of this sent to your business councils for dissemination, and then also for all the ones who registered through the website, automatically it would all be sent to your emails. Okay. So what factors would help encourage you to expand? So of course, again, you spoke about favorable businesses, which is why you're in here, business environments, which is why you're in here. You spoke about access to skilled workforce. The Office of the Vice President, I know, is constantly working on training and retraining our young entrepreneurs and young people generally. So we are building our workforce in Nigeria. Government initiatives, this is why we have all the MDAs in the room. This is why we have the subnationals in the room who can also make their own states more conducive for you to expand into. Market demand, of course, you do know that Nigeria has a huge market of over 200 million people. So in terms of market, I mean, it's readily available. Many of these investors have stayed in Lagos because Lagos alone is a huge market, talk less of expanding into other states. Improved infrastructure is something that our government will continue to work on. Also with some of your assistance, because I know we have some PPPs with some of the multinationals in the room. We'll continue to try and make it easier for you to work with our government agencies and subnational. And of course, you said favorable business environment, which is what PEBEC is about. So we'll continue to push that agenda for you. I'm just going to skip through to the most critical things. So you did mention, one of the things was how important is it for state governors to provide customized support and incentives to attract investment? And everyone said very important. So again, for our governors, please, we want to work with you to create, every state is different, and it would be good for you to have your own unique attributes that would attract investors into your state. So we're always happy and willing to work with you. We have our NIPC Executive Secretary in the room too, who is pushing heavy with investments. So I'm sure she'll have a team who's also willing to work with the governors. At the PEBEC end, we're also willing to work with the governors. I know our Honorable Minister is also always readily available to assist in helping create policies that would help create a better enabling environment at the state level. Generally, I mean, one of the key things, and it's interesting that our central bank governor is in the room, one of the key things that almost all our investors kept talking about was access to foreign exchange. I know the central bank governor would have a lot to say with regards to the reforms that have been made in that sector. So I'm going to wait for him to address that. I'm very glad that he's taken the time to come in here because you're all his constituents, and I know that every policy that they make affects your businesses in one way or the other, because I've dealt with several individual businesses in this room as it regards to CBN while I was working with the Office of the Vice President. So again, we will encourage you to please use the opportunity to engage, listen, and try and understand where the government, this administration is going, so that you know how to best use those policies to achieve your goals. More than anything else, I would say thank you very much for traveling far and wide to be here today. Let's keep the exchange as honest as possible. Let's continue to engage, and let's understand that we're all on the same page towards building a great Nigeria for everybody, both Nigerians and non-Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam DG, for reiterating PEBEC's commitment to an enabling environment for businesses and holding MDAs accountable. We'll now be moving on to the launch of the Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Assessment Framework, and my co-moderator would be handling this segment.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are now at a pivotal moment, which is the launch of Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Analysis Framework. My name is Hussaina Abdulkadir. I'm a senior reform leader at the PEBEC Secretariat. To give the room more information about what the Impact Analysis Framework is, we would be presenting a video. Thank you.
Impact Analysis Framework, RIA, to improve Nigeria's regulatory landscape. Following the inaugural Regulators Forum with His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima GCON, on September 19, 2024, work began on drafting the Regulatory Impact Analysis Framework, RIA, to improve Nigeria's regulatory landscape. A technical working group was established on October 3, 2024, to co-develop the framework with the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council Secretariat, PEBEC Secretariat. The Nigeria's Regulatory Impact Analysis Framework is co-developed by representatives of key regulatory agencies in Nigeria under the guidance of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council Secretariat. The RIA framework is a strategic tool designed to enhance regulatory governance by ensuring that all regulations are evidence-based, efficient, and effective. This framework aligns with international best practices and seeks to reduce unnecessary burdens on businesses while fostering economic growth and regulatory coherence. Key objectives: enhance policy efficiency, promote evidence-based regulatory decisions that balance economic, social, and environmental considerations. 2. Improve regulatory quality, ensure that regulations are resource efficient, relevant, and aligned with the needs of stakeholders. 3. Streamline regulatory processes, minimize bureaucratic inefficiencies and foster an enabling environment for businesses in Nigeria. Scope and applicability. The RIA framework applies to all regulatory agencies and policymaking departments across Nigeria. It mandates that all new regulatory proposals, amendments, or sunsetting of outdated regulations undergo a thorough impact analysis. The framework is adaptable, allowing for sector-specific questions and adjustments to address unique regulatory challenges. Core guiding principles: transparency, stakeholder engagement, evidence-based analysis, cost-benefit analysis, flexibility, continuous improvement. Critical questions in the RIA framework. To ensure comprehensive analysis, the framework outlines 11 critical questions that policymakers must address: problem identification, rationale for government action, policy options, net benefits, stakeholder consultation, best option selection, implementation and evaluation, regulatory ownership, impact assessment, mitigation strategies, interagency collaboration. Implementation timeline. The framework becomes effective from February 2025, requiring all federal government ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, to integrate RIA into the development, amendment, or sunsetting of regulations. The PEBEC Secretariat will oversee its operationalization and capacity-building initiatives to ensure seamless adoption. Benefits of the framework: encourages smarter and more adaptive regulation, promotes accountability and public trust through transparency, strengthens Nigeria's business environment by aligning regulatory practices with global standards. This message is brought to you by the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, Office of the Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
To lead this launch, I will now invite the project manager of the PEBEC Secretariat, Ms. Aimea Opebolo.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Just to state further that changes to policies and regulations, as well as retractions by some ministries, departments, and agencies, have created some challenges for the business community in Nigeria. Now, this shift in policies and inconsistent communication have caused confusion and raised concern in the business environment. The key challenges to the Nigerian regulatory landscape is the inconsistent policies and an inadequate stakeholder engagement. We at the PEBEC Secretariat therefore thought it wise to develop and co-design this framework with MDAs. And examples of recent policy and regulatory disruptions to the business environment are the National Cybersecurity 0.5% levy on all transactions that had been suspended by Mr. President in May 2024, the expatriate employment levy, also suspended by Mr. President in March 2024, and the CSE retroactive requirement for foreign shareholders to maintain a minimum paid-up share capital of 100 million naira based on the revised handbook on expatriate quota administration 2022. That has also been suspended by Mr. President. However, the critical regulatory impact analysis framework has questions that will help policymakers focus on potential impact of major decisions, and such as the size of the impact, that is the increase or decrease on the community, and also to help structure ideas, test assumptions, and encourage policymakers to think beyond a regulation-based solution as the default. Now, I'll just be using the expatriate employment levy of 2024 as an example. Now, the RIA sets out 11 critical questions that policymakers must take a regulation through. That is like a litmus test. And one of it is that what problem is the regulation trying to solve? For example, the EEL was trying to promote the skill transfer and knowledge sharing from expatriates to locals, also to balance economic growth and welfare, and enhance collaboration between public and private sector, as well as encourage local talent acquisition. Now, was this regulation needed? Now, there was supposed to be development of reasons that provide a rationale why the government should prioritize the problem and take action on this intervention. Now, what were the alternatives considered? That's one of the critical questions that the RIA set out. What alternatives were considered? Should we start by regulation, or we should start by way of a non-regulation solution? And also, we are supposed to make a list of non-regulatory interventions and actions that can effectively solve the problem. And then, in the event that a non-regulatory option can solve the problem, then we will adopt a non-regulatory solution. But if not, and then we'll go ahead to have a regulation. For the EEL, we had the Immigration Act that specifies the priority of consideration for Nigerians and establishes suitable quotas in the involvement of expatriates, while also the Local Content Act assures jobs for Nigerians. Now, these existing laws could have been considered. Also, making a list of existing regulations and see if they can be refined or amended to ensure that the problem is solved. Another critical question is stakeholder consultation. This is very, very important. And a good example to this was the Nigeria Code of Corporate Governance, where there was deep stakeholder mapping and stakeholder involvement. Identifying the necessary stakeholder at inception is very paramount, and understanding what role they play in the process to ensure targeted and successful engagement. Also, the public and private sector stakeholders in the room at the same time is also very important at inception, even to the regulation being implemented. Also, implementation timelines. The RI also looks at the fact that regulations should not be made retroactive, but a timeline that will be reasonable. Just in conclusion, a regulatory impact analysis framework is essential for ensuring that policy decisions are well informed, carefully planned, and effectively implemented. By providing a structured approach to assess the potential impact of process regulations, this ROIA framework by the Public Secretariat will help to avoid unintended consequences, promote stakeholder engagement, and encourage a balanced, evidence-based approach to regulatory changes. It will also ensure that government can participate and anticipate the broad economic, social, and operational implications of new policies, allowing businesses to adapt accordingly and reduce the risk of disruption. It will also support suitable economic growth and build greater trust between the government and the business community. Thank you as we continue to make Nigeria a progressively easier place to do business.
I think this is a good time to say congratulations to all the regulatory agencies and the PEBEC Secretariat on this remarkable milestone. It's a testament to this administration's commitment to ensuring that Nigeria is an easier place to do business. So we then proceed to the multinational perspective. We'll be inviting the Chambers of Commerce and business councils present here as representatives of their members who are multinationals operating in Nigeria. We will start with the American Business Council, and this perspective will be taken by Mrs. Margaret Olele, the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Secretary.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So first of all, I would like to say that I'm standing on existing protocols to appreciate the engagement that we're having today. The first time we had this engagement last year, we didn't have the size of people in the room, but for me, I felt that it was an opportunity for us to really move forward in terms of engaging government in a way that is pragmatic, and very, very proactive. And we have seen the great outcomes of this. For those who don't know who we are as American Business Council, we are the voice of American businesses in Nigeria and the American Chamber of Commerce, with over 90 companies that are members and working closely with the U.S. mission in Nigeria to look at opportunities, and the Nigerian government to look at opportunities to drive trade and investment between the two countries and in the interest of member companies. Having said that, I would say that we had recently a town hall meeting where we examined the way we viewed the business climate. And one of the critical positive outcomes, and not because I'm a half-full person, but the positive outcome of that for me was the perception of U.S. companies about the government of Nigeria and the regulatory agencies and policies. So in terms of how they see the reforms, a lot of the companies, over 70%, were at least fairly happy with the reforms that the government has done, and they're seeing that in the way it's positively impacting the businesses, and I think it's really a positive and laudable thing. We have outcomes of the follow-through of the roundtable we had last year, which was something we call the Ease of Doing Business series, and the Ease of Doing Business series was really interestingly, ironically, was in partnership with PEBEC. And the first Ease of Doing Business series, we're very happy to have the then DG of PEBEC, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, and the Controller General of Customs at that the Ease of Doing Business series to address critical issues, and they were very granular conversations that happened that were resolved. We don't want to, mention the details, but it tells you about the power of stakeholder engagements. And today, we're happy that, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, who really, we, in the private sector really understand and trust the fact that, she understands the business landscape and, being able to help drive those conversations forward. So I would say that we had outcomes from this roundtable. The roundtable is not an end to itself. It's really something that helps us to continually engage government, and a couple of those policies that they had to suspend and all were also due to issues, the way they were able to engage government. Are we at the end of the journey? I would say that we're still on the journey. And what that means is that while a critical chunk, like Princess noted, talked about, the CBN policies and all, and we're very grateful to have, the CBN governor here. We're also lucky to have had to engage him in the U.S. During the IMF spring meeting at the U.S. Chamber in D.C. We've seen a lot of fresher breath air, I would say, reforms that have been happening in that space, and it's been very helpful. However, we're still, like I said, on a journey, and we still note that things around the valuation of the naira is still the current challenges that we still face there. It's something that that's ongoing, and we're hopefully looking at how this can be resolved. The issues around repatriation of dollars. I wish. Has also been has been addressed and have also been addressed. But people, we still have one or two organizations that have raised concerns about that. So I would say that we are on a journey in those areas. We have a couple of stakeholders in the room. That have really helped advance a lot of things in terms of policy. Policy still remains. Policy and regulatory environment still remains a bit challenging, especially as you have multifarious policies across federal and state levels. And I'm happy that we have some of the state governors in the room. And I know that the Benue State governor was at the U.S. Chamber when we talked about certain issues last year. So looking at those multifarious and, sometimes very convoluted, it could be an area we need to look at and challenge, and I'm happy to see that PEBEC is already looking at that and addressing that. So even at the American Business Council, we are actively engaged, and we have engaged some subnational governments really to see how we can, move forward and drive, make things possible and make sure that, we're able to work around that. So policy issues still remain a concern. Regulatory issues, even though they are addressed, we need to move forward and get better in those areas. So I don't want to, I know my colleague from the Eurocham is probably going to be speaking next, but I overall, I think that we're on a good journey. I know that we're going to have people ask specific questions or make specific comments later, but I think this is a good way to start and a good way that we are tracking. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Olele. Before I call on Eurocham, I would like to remind our honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, about the question slip. So you do have the question slips either in the bags in front of you or on your tables. And if you don't, you can always ask any of the ushers to get you one. So we're asking honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, to fill the questionnaires with questions that you have for MDAs or any of the stakeholders in the room today. We'll be taking these questions at the Q&A session. Thank you. So I now call on Mr. Jan Gilbert on behalf of Eurocham.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, honorable guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I'm sorry, I'm not good at speeches. I'm a man of action, so I will be short and efficient, I hope. First of all, let me thank you, PEBEC and Princess Zara, for this initiative. I think it's great. We appreciate to be invited and to collaborate to make investment in Nigeria easier for our business. So I represent hereby the European business community in Nigeria. It's more than 250 companies present in Nigeria, and we invest more than 5 billion euro in Nigeria every year. Sorry. Europe is the biggest partner of Nigeria, and I think it's important to remember that. And we appreciate and acknowledge all the reforms that have been achieved so far and successful. And we see the impact on our businesses already today. I'm into the aviation sector, and we see that the figures are growing, and we thank you, the government of Nigeria, for this reform. There are more to go. I think it was mentioned by my colleague from America. We are in the middle of the journey, and I will mention 3 of them that I've pointed, but it's not exhaustive. It's a priority list that I've chosen. First of all, as I mentioned by Princess Zara and also the World Bank, consistency of the reform is key and will allow foreign investment visibility. Secondly, which is also very important, is to work on the visa. The visa costs and process are too costful and too cumbersome for our foreign people to visit or come to Nigeria. I think this has to be addressed. Next point, it is in line of what has been discussed with the EEL. It's about work permit and quotas. I think there is some room to do. Of course, there was some improvement with the EEL, but Eurocham published an advocacy paper last year on that aspect, and I think if you want to attract investment, let people come. I think, let's say you can take the example of Dubai, who are welcoming a lot of investors, and there are not too many constraints to come and invest in their country. Last point, and is linked to the above, I think Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa, and it should be a regional hub or attracting regional head offices, which is not the case today. I'm probably an exception. My company has decided, because of me, because I love Nigeria, to base my regional office covering all Central and West Africa in Nigeria. But it's not natural for foreign companies to base their regional office in Nigeria. They prefer to be in South Africa, they prefer to be in Abidjan, they prefer to be in Senegal. Why is that? It's probably because of the point I mentioned before. And I think if we address that, Nigeria could be a place like Dubai, like South Africa, where regional head office can be installed and will bring more value to the country. To conclude, as Eurocham and Europe, we are, of course, ready to collaborate with Nigeria. We are happy to be in Nigeria. We think that we can bring value, both of us together, and we're ready to collaborate with PEBEC and all of the other government agencies to make our business easier in Nigeria. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. So I would now call on Mr. Ismail Balogun from the Nigerian-Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Good morning, everyone. May I seek your permission to stand on existing protocols? It is both an honor and a privilege to address this distinguished assembly at such a pivotal moment in Nigeria's economic trajectory. My name is Ishmael Balogun, and I am the president of the Nigerian-Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, an organization that has been instrumental in strengthening bilateral trade and investment between our nations since its inception in 1997. Since the start of my tenure in 2018, trade balances between Nigeria and Indonesia has grown significantly, with the trade value rising from 1.7 billion to an expected 4.7 billion by 2023. The Indonesian government, like most across the globe, has shown strong commitment to working with Nigerians, strengthening bilateral trade and investment, and creating a robust platform for future cooperation across all chambers of commerce and industry. This growth in trade is not just a reflection of our efforts, but a clear indicator that there is always a demand and growing interest in Nigeria, both as an investment hub and as a business partner. Our responsibility is to capitalize on this interest. I'm deeply appreciative of the direct investors and broader Nigerian business community. I extend my sincere gratitude to the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council and all those who have made this gathering possible. Platforms like this are very essential to fostering collaboration, strengthening investor confidence, and shaping policies that would enhance Nigerians' economic competitiveness. This event, along with many others spearheaded by this administration, underscores a commitment to strengthening the economic prosperity of our great nation, Nigeria. It gives us all confidence that the future economy of Nigeria is indeed bright. Nigeria's strategic position as Africa's largest economy, along with its vast natural and human resources, makes it an attractive destination for investors. Over the years, Indonesian companies have made significant inroads into various sectors, including but not limited to agriculture, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, renewable energy, oil and gas. These partnerships have not only stimulated economic growth, but have also contributed to job creation and capacity building within Nigeria. However, despite the progress made, investors still face challenges that must be addressed to unlock the full potential of foreign direct investment in the country. Like Vice President Shettima said at Davos, he expressed skepticism about continued dependence on foreign aid. There is a shared understanding that our relationship with the administration must focus on fostering equal partnerships, not handouts. We need sustainable policies that drive wealth creation and innovation, ones that not only attracting foreign direct investment, but also to keep and encourage them and retain them in Nigeria. As you rightly said, sir, there's an inseparable relationship between economy and ecology on the African continent. In this light, sustainability isn't just about protecting our physical resources, but also about invigorating the Nigerian spirit. It's about encouraging our people to buy local, to believe in the future of our country, and to drive positive change in our production systems. The attraction of foreign direct investment can only come when there's an acknowledgement that we have something valuable in our country that all those interested in trade on any scale are welcome to partake. This can only be achieved through actionable reforms that promote growth, self-sufficiency, and innovation. Furthermore, I want to encourage the stakeholders here, and especially the government, that we are all aware of the critical importance of competitive trade. One area that require urgent attention is actually the establishment of industrial zones and free trade zones across the 6 geopolitical zones. These zones will encourage businesses, particularly those in the manufacturing sector, to produce locally. By doing so, they can avoid the cumbersome processes and procedures, excessive tariffs, and delays at the ports. These issues that are currently being experienced by multinationals in the country. Furthermore, and lastly, the African Continental Free Trade Area presents a remarkable opportunity for Nigeria to position itself as a leading gateway for investors targeting the African market by capitalizing on the advantages of the AfCFTA. Nigeria can further integrate itself into the global economic system while creating a more viable environment for both local and foreign entities. Because of my time, as I conclude, I would like to reaffirm the commitment of the Nigerian-Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry to fostering stronger bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Indonesia. We are confident that through collaboration, through dialogue and sustained engagement, Nigeria can unlock its full potential and position itself as a global economic powerhouse. The essence of this reform is to put the means of progress in the hands of the people, no more outstretched hands waiting for aid that will impoverish us. With sustainable policies, resources are open for the use of all citizens. On behalf of the members of the Nigerian-Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the broader foreign investment community, I thank the Nigerian government for its continued commitment to creating a more friendly environment. I look forward to deeper engagements, stronger collaborations, and a future where Nigeria is recognized as the premier investment destination in Africa. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Balogun. I will now invite the Director General, China General Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Tristan Chu.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Except good morning, I want to say 过年好 to everybody. The 过年好 is Chinese word, means Happy Chinese New Year. 过年好. Your Excellency, today is Spring Festival. It's the biggest holiday in China, just like the Christmas and the Salah in Nigeria. And 1.4 billion Chinese is on their holiday, but I'm here. Your Excellency, I know you are very good friends with my ambassador. Please, after the meeting, call him for my overtime pay. Thank you again. The Chinese business first came to Nigeria in 1960. Back then, the work on building infrastructure and supporting Nigeria economic growth. Over time, both countries worked close together, signed agreement on trade, technology, and investments. This agreement helped to build a strong and lasting partnership between China and Nigeria. Nigeria holds significant place in China-African cooperation. Today, Nigeria is China's second largest export market and the third largest trade market partner and one of the most important investment destinations in Africa. In 2023, the trade between our two countries reached $23 billion. I'm especially glad to see Nigeria export to China continue to grow, which is positive development for both our economic. In terms of investment, beyond the oil and gas sector, China has invested a total like $40 billion in Nigeria over the past 5 years. This investment span infrastructure, manufacturing, agri, and mining area, and the new renewable energy area. And about the Chamber of Commerce, I want to introduce to distinguished guests. We have 4 president companies. They are the CCECC is in charge of the security area, and the CGCOC and the China Harbor, which they also attend today. CGCOC is our public relation of the office, and the China Harbor is the promote of the investment. And the 4th one is Huawei. I think everybody knows this company is about the compliance management. On October 18, 2023, was the President, Mr. Shatima, with China and attended the 3rd Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. On September 3, 2024, President Tinubu participate the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. And just a few weeks ago, in January 2025, Chinese Foreign Ministry Wang Yi visited Nigeria to discuss new way to cooperate. And also hosted by Mr. Tinubu, President Tinubu, he hosted the China and Nigeria Strategy Committee. The DG, Mr. Joseph, just come to China in 1 week before. And about these three people, when they go to China, I'm very honorable to participate on the delegation. And the challenge by Chinese business in Nigeria, the first I think is about the exchange rate. The exchange rate changed a lot in the last years. And the second one is about the accessing foreign currency. It's very difficult for business, which put extra on the option. And the last one is about the security issue. Security is the major concern. Kidnapping incident is not only affect people safe, but also make investors worried. And I suggest everybody see the signboard behind you. It's said by President Shettima, Vice President Shettima. The word for crisis in Chinese is Weiji. You can see the signboard there. The word of crisis in Chinese is Weiji. Wei is dangerous, while Ji standing for opportunity. It's a big surprise. I see the Chinese word here. Yeah. We know we have many dangers in this time. It's a big change of the world situation, but we also have big opportunity in Nigeria. At future, just this few years, more and more Chinese business come to Nigeria. They know the biggest markets of Africa is here in Nigeria. I'm very sure at future we'll have more Chinese businessmen come to Nigeria. And at future, our distinguished guests, any of you want to do business with China can come to my office. My office is at the airport road. When you fly to Abuja, 100% you will pass my office. It's near the shop right of the city gate. And the last, I want to greeting you also a Chinese word, 恭喜发财. In the Spring Festival, every Chinese say each other, say 恭喜发财. That means, I hope you become more rich. I hope you become more rich. 恭喜发财. It's a very simple and straightforward blessing. I hope all the Nigerians become more rich. I hope Chinese businessmen and all the foreigners businessmen in Nigeria become more rich. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chui. I want to thank all the speakers for sharing the perspectives of the businesses under their various chambers of commerce. Your feedback has been well taken by the Public Secretariat and would continue to do all that we can to ensure that the business environment in Nigeria improves significantly. So we'll be moving forward in the agenda. Okay, so I would be calling the Nigerian Finnish Association, the Nigerian France Association.
Thank you, good morning. I'm very happy to hear that the Chinese are open for business, so I'll try to do business too. Thank you. My name is Guillaume Niarfex. I represent the Franco-Nigerian Chamber of Commerce. I'll try to be brief. We have 600, a little bit more than 600 members in Nigeria. We employ thousands of Nigerians, mostly. I think France and Nigeria have a very long history of doing business together. Nigeria is the first partner of France in sub-Saharan Africa. And as you know, our two countries are very good friends, and as we've seen recently with the visit of the Nigerian president in France, our presidents are also very good friends, so, which is helping us a lot. Let me start by quoting the Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, who said yesterday, once again, that Nigeria is a beacon of opportunity. I think it's very true. I think there's a lot of opportunities for all of us to become more rich, as my colleague just said, together, all in Nigeria. And of course, we know there's problems, but also a lot of opportunities. I think the problem of infrastructure are being tackled. There's a lot of change in the current policy that are being made by the current government that are going in the right direction. And what we need and what the French company needs to thrive together in Nigeria are mainly a favorable business environment, as you said. And I'll narrow it down to 4 main points. I think one of the main points is a legal stability, long-term policy that are being sustained government after government. Why is this important? Because it allows long-term planning. In companies, we need to plan long-term, we need to plan budget, invest. We are, as also said by Jan, there's a lot of investment coming from Europe, coming from France, coming from all over the world to Nigeria. It's very important we can plan long-term. So the legal stability is a very good, important point. A fair tax policy also is very important. I know that the Fiscal Committee and Fiscal and Tax Committee is working along that way already. They've been making a lot of progress lately, and I think they're going in the right direction. So this is going to help a lot investment. Of course, the CBN is working on monetary stability and access to Forex. I think it's a very low-hanging fruit, but it's a very important point. Why would you be trying to make a lot of money in Nigeria or create a lot of value if you cannot use it to actually grow more business, invest somewhere else, or even get your money in the country? It's very important. It will help plan long-term. And I will also add a little bit more on the point of my colleague from the Eurocham on the access to quota linked to investment, of course, but it's very important. And the reliability into it, predictability, we know we'll get them. It's not a surprise after 6 months, after 18 months. So that's very important, and I know that everyone is working in that direction. And the easiness to get visa. It was already a very important point when 5-6 years ago you created the visa on arrival. It has helped a lot. I think we can also do much better into simplifying the process and making it easy for people to come to Nigeria. And with that in mind, I'm sure, as my predecessor just said, we'll be able to get rich together and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you to all our business chambers, the American Business Council, Eurocham, the Nigerian-Indonesia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the China General Chamber of Commerce, and the Franco-Nigerian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you all. Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the keynote speech. It is my honor to invite the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, His Excellency, Dr. Yemi Cardoso, to give his keynote speech. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency.
Thank you for that surprise request to give my keynote speech. But in any case, since the central bank name seems to come up so often, I will take that request. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, I would please stand on existing protocol because I know the day is far spent. And perhaps, rather than a keynote speech, I would just highlight a few things that I seem to have gotten from this event today. Undoubtedly, it's a pleasure and honor to be here at this esteemed gathering, the second Existing Foreign Direct Investment Roundtable. This forum is a testament to the shared commitment to both the public and private sectors to fostering a more dynamic and investor-friendly economic environment in Nigeria. And I really couldn't overemphasize the importance of multi-stakeholder engagement. And this is one of such. And I must say that it is my first one. I know there was one such last year, and I'm very happy that I was invited, and I'm very pleased I came here today. Nigeria, of course, remains one of Africa's most promising investment destinations with a large consumer base, a useful and skilled workforce, and an abundant natural resources. As the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, I'm pleased to share insights into the economic landscape, policy directions, and the strategic reforms being implemented to enhance trade and investment opportunities in our nation. In particular, at the Central Bank, we recognize investors' critical role in driving economic growth, creating jobs, and fostering innovation. Our policies are tailored to ensure macroeconomic stability, strengthen the financial sector, and create a conducive environment for both local and foreign investors. Today, I will attempt to highlight a few key areas from our standpoint, which we believe would help investors as they strengthen their resolve, put it this way, to work in Nigeria, and in particular from the macroeconomic standpoint, the things that we believe we are doing, and we need to tell that story. Because, as was said earlier, I do think that in the scheme of things, it's useful to have this dialogue so people and investors can understand the issues that we are faced with and the reforms we are doing so they can be our greatest advocates. The Central Bank of Nigeria remains unwavering in its dedication to maintaining a stable macroeconomic environment, which of course is something that has come up time without number, that supports sustainable growth and attracts investment. To address inflationary pressures, and I need not say too much about the inflationary pressures we have gone through of recent, the bank has prioritized inflation control through strategic monetary tightening. This approach provides a series of deliberate adjustments to the monetary policy rate, MPR, which increased progressively from 18.5% in February 2024 to 27.5% as at November 2024, underscoring our commitment to curbing inflation. Again, to highlight the fact that, because this seems to come up quite a bit, that this high interest rate spiral is not conducive for the real sector. And perhaps that be the case, but the argument on the other side is that hopefully these should be short-term measures that will help to, of course, stabilize the economy. And as inflation starts to come down, because that is the real monster, if the populace do not have spending power, then the goods that the real sector are putting on the market, you find no takers for them. So it's important, and it is important from the socio-economic standpoint that we do curb inflation. And as I said, as that continues to trend down, then of course, interest rates also will come down. With a key focus on digital transformation, the central bank is driving financial inclusion by promoting fintech innovations, expanding access to digital banking, and enhancing the efficiency of payment systems. The collaboration between monetary and fiscal authorities remains critical, and the CBN is working closely with the fiscal authorities to align policies that enhance productivity, trade, and industrial growth. Again, this is something that tends to come up a lot. There tends to be a lot of anxiety, put it that way, as to the extent of which the collaboration between the fiscal and the monetary authorities exists. And I can say so much about this, but something that I never shy to talk about, and that is the fact that on the board of the Central Bank of Nigeria, you have leadership of the fiscal authorities represented. In particular, you have the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance, and you have the accountant general, both as members of the Central Bank Board. In addition to that, on the Monetary Policy Committee, we have the representation of the permanent secretary of Finance. So that in itself engenders a lot of discourse and a lot of collaboration. And in addition to that, quite frankly, there are a lot of other mechanisms by which we have consistent dialogue. I have, on a regular basis, dialogue with both the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Honorable Minister of Budget and Planning, and also the DG Budget. And when they go on road shows, this is something that we complement each other on. Also, the CBN remains committed to policy consistency, transparency, and proactive engagement with investors to build confidence, stabilize inflation, and achieve a projected GDP growth of 4.17% by 2025. Yesterday, on the issue of consistency and transparency, yesterday we had the launch of the Foreign Exchange Code, which basically brought together all the banks, bank CEOs, bank chairmen, and also compliance heads of the banks. In addition to the central bank, myself, I was present, and in which we all committed to a code of ethics going forward. Because sometimes there's a tendency to think that people know. But by the time you bring the documents out and we all agree them, and I must say, similar to what you're doing here, we had extensive consultation with all the different stakeholders before we came out with the final code of ethics. And we have agreed that, signed off on it, and we, of course, will be ensuring that we work according to that practice going forward. The bank is committed to ensuring a transparent, efficient, and well-functioning foreign exchange market that supports economic stability and investors' confidence. With the critical role of exchange rate stability in fostering trade and investment, the bank has implemented comprehensive FX market reforms aimed at enhancing liquidity, ensuring price stability, and reducing distortions that previously hindered market efficiency. One of the key measures that has been the unification of the multiple exchange rate windows with a single market-driven system. This reform promotes transparency by allowing exchange rates to be determined by market forces while ensuring that foreign exchange supply and demand are better aligned. By eliminating arbitrage opportunities and speculative activities, a more predictable and investor-friendly environment has been created, which facilitates long-term capital inflows. In addressing FX liquidity constraints, decisive steps have been taken to clear outstanding 7 billion FX backlogs, ensuring that businesses, multinationals, corporations, and foreign investors can repatriate funds seamlessly. This initiative has restored confidence amongst market participants and reinforced Nigeria's commitment to honoring financial obligations in a timely and efficient manner. And I will say a few comments on this because no doubt many in this room are very interested in this. Yes, backlog of 7 billion US dollars, and we have cleared the verified claims. We looked at the unverified claims, and I believe that we are at the final stages of separating what qualifies as fully verified, and we will shortly be paying out those monies that have been verified by the forensic auditors. Something told me that if there was anything I would get a clap for today, it was that. It's unfortunate, to be honest, that it has taken so long, but truth of the matter is that there were a lot of practices that went on that really should never have happened in the first place. But anyway, that said, we are going to ensure that we do what we need to do to strengthen our market and to create better trust in what you investors naturally desire and deserve. Furthermore, the CBN has introduced policy measures that encourage inflows from non-oil export proceeds, diaspora remittances, and foreign direct investments to diversify FX supply sources. Again, this is an area that we are very proud to talk about our accomplishments there because, to be frank, one of the main reasons why foreign exchange has been relatively volatile over the recent past was the fact that the supply of foreign exchange was relatively limited. And that's for a number of things. Not least, of course, is the fact that a monolithic economy where basically much is dependent on oil, there's a limit to how much you would expect to come in, and especially in a situation where the sector itself was going through its own issues and, of course, its own reforms. So in that process, the central bank said, well, how can we contribute towards the diversification of revenue? And the thing that we looked at was diaspora remittances because, of course, we have a very, very strong and robust diaspora all over the world. All over the world. And we took it upon ourselves to commence the engagement process, and both outside, internationally and domestically, understood their problems, and in understanding their problems, we took away the bottlenecks that hindered progress, and we've seen gradual and significant increases in flows coming in from both the IMTOs and the diaspora community. By strengthening engagement with exporters and promoting value-added production, we aim to reduce over-reliance on oil revenues and bolster FX reserves. The bank introduced the non-resident Nigeria ordinary account and non-resident Nigeria investment account targeted at Nigerians in diaspora. These enable non-resident Nigerians to remit their foreign earnings to Nigeria and manage funds in both foreign and local currencies. While there are two of them, one is the one is a non-resident, while the other one Account holders may maintain both a foreign currency account and a local currency account to facilitate transactions and participate in diverse investment opportunities. So this is something that the diasporans have longed for, and we believe very strongly that this is a game changer in terms of the remittance of flows to Nigeria. To sustain exchange rate stability, the CBN continues to enhance oversight of bureau de change operations and other FX intermediaries, ensuring compliance with regulatory guidelines while preventing speculative practices that could distort the market. Additionally, technology is being leveraged to improve FX market transparency, streamline processes, and create a seamless trading ecosystem. The focus of the bank remains on maintaining a market-driven exchange rate system that fosters investors' confidence, facilitates ease of capital repatriation, and promotes macroeconomic stability. The electronic foreign matching system was introduced in its bid to ensure transparency, fair and efficient FX trading, minimize counterparty risk, and ensure compliance with CBN regulations. The eFirms allows a minimum tradable amount of $100,000 with incremental clip sizes of $50,000. eFirms is used exclusively for executing spot FX transactions involving the Naira against the dollar. As we advance these reforms, we affirm our commitment to creating a foreign exchange framework that supports sustainable economic growth, strengthens Nigeria's position in global trade, and ensures long-term prosperity for all stakeholders. And again, the system itself, I must say, speaks for itself. Since its introduction, we have seen a gradual strengthening in the Naira, largely because it's a very open and transparent system. You can see who is buying, you can see who is selling. The opportunity to arbitrage and play games around the foreign exchange market has been significantly reduced. The external account has strengthened with an overall balance of payment surplus of $7.17 billion in 2024 compared to a deficit of US dollars 3.39 billion in 2023. That does deserve a round of applause. That clearly shows the positive impact of the reforms. This favorable growth was primarily attributed to a significant growth in external reserves, bolstered by consistent increases in capital inflows and remittances, driven by the implementation of bold economic reforms. Again, something I made mention to, the Global FX Code, which I spoke about off the cuff a few minutes ago, and that it provides a common set of guidelines to promote the integrity and effective functioning of the wholesale FX market. The code was developed and maintained collaboratively between central banks, market participants in the private sector, and FX infrastructure providers from 20 jurisdictions. Compliance is expected by January 31st, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, I reaffirm the bank's commitment to strengthen Nigeria's financial sector and creating a conducive environment for investment. The financial sector remains robust and resilient, playing a crucial role in supporting economic expansion and private sector growth. CBN has implemented key reforms to ensure that banks are stable, liquid, and well regulated, creating confidence in the financial system. To strengthen financial sector resilience, liquidity management has been enhanced and the cash reserve ratio increased to ensure financial system stability. A significant focus for the bank has been deepening financial inclusion by expanding access to affordable financial services, especially for underserved populations in rural areas. Through initiatives like mobile banking, agent banking, and digital financial services, banking has been made more accessible across Nigeria. Additionally, the CBN is promoting digital banking innovations to enhance the security, efficiency, and accessibility of financial transactions. Distinguished guests, the CBN bank recapitalization policy, scheduled for March 2026, aims to strengthen the banking sector by increasing capital requirements to enhance stability and resilience. The policy is designed to ensure banks are better equipped to support economic growth, drive innovation, and foster job creation. By reinforcing the financial system, which plays a crucial role in mobilizing funds for productive ventures, the policy is expected to enhance Nigeria's financial landscape and contribute to sustained national development. The policy sets minimum capital of 500 billion naira for international banks, 200 billion naira for national banks, and 50 billion for regional and merchant banks. And let me say at this point that so far so good. We see some of the banks have already gone a long way in raising their capital, and the central bank also has verified, bar perhaps one that has come to that market, we've verified all the transactions that need to be verified and signed off accordingly. And I'm very positive that going into the future, the outcome will be a successful one. And it's good that it is coming at a time like this, because I remember when I first announced that we were going to ask the banks to bring in more capital, and there was a lot of skepticism towards that. But not many anticipated that we would go through the very major devaluation that we went through. And after that, I think the rest, quite frankly, is history. It became very clear that this was something that really needed to be done. I'm also pleased that with the foreign exchange market becoming a lot more transparent, a lot more buoyant, a lot more open, and spreads and arbitrage and illicit flows, being pushed out of that market, it now forces the banks to really get down and do the business of banking. So I'm very optimistic that going forward, we will see more interest in banks funding the productive activities. To foster a favorable investment climate, the CBN is committed to maintaining transparency, policy consistency, and regulatory clarity. By reinforcing macroeconomic stability and ensuring a predictable policy environment, Nigeria is being positioned as an attractive investment destination. Ultimately, the goal is to build a financial ecosystem that supports sustainable growth, enhances productivity, and ensures long-term prosperity for all. And again, like I had said at the outset, I cannot overemphasize how much we have, how much our policies at the central bank have been driven by talking to various stakeholders. I cannot overemphasize it. Understanding the problems, talking to them, dialogue, having the magnanimity to change where you think you need to try something that is more efficient and more effective, and constantly looking for what ultimately benefits all concerned. Because policies cannot and should not, in my view, benefit just one group. We've seen the outcome in Nigeria of the recent past, where multiple exchange rates had their dysfunctions and where certain groups benefited massively at the extent of others. That is not a system that we intend to follow. As we look towards strengthening our economy, we should prioritize attracting FDIs that will help boost non-oil exports, industrialization, and value-added production. Successful experiences of some countries include Malaysia, which has emerged as a significant hub for semiconductor manufacturing, attracting major companies like Intel and Macron. Factors such as solid infrastructure, engineering expertise, and attractive investment incentives have made it a top destination for FDI, especially in the semiconductor and artificial intelligence sectors, with Penang, an island region in the country alone, attracting $12.8 billion in 2023. In India, the liberalization policies of the 1990s, coupled with the growth of the information technology sector, have significantly boosted FDI in India. As of 2024, India received over $1.03 trillion in FDI since April 2000, with over 69% of inflows attracted since 2014. The country has become a global hub for technology and services, attracting investments from all over the world. Ethiopia is also another country that has attracted increased FDI following substantial economic reforms. The government has implemented policies to liberalize the economy, including transitioning to a market-based exchange rate and maintaining policy autonomy. These reforms have enhanced investor confidence, positioning Ethiopia as a growing economy likely to attract more FDIs in the coming years. Interestingly, when Ethiopia were about to liberalize, they came to us in the central bank and we had very, very interesting conversations. And I'm so happy. It's not by no means an easy task, and it's not an easy road at all, but I'm pleased that at least they've been able to summon the courage to do the things they are doing. Already, China has become one of the main sources of FDI to Ethiopia, accounting for about 60% of all new greenfield FDI projects in the country between 2018 and 2022. Yes. These countries have shown that with the right policies and commitment, emerging markets can boost industrial capacity, diversify exports, and attract substantial foreign investments. Nigeria is on a similar path, and the Central Bank of Nigeria is working tirelessly to ensure that we have the right policies in place, such as supporting access to credit for exporters and manufacturers, enhancing foreign exchange management, and fostering a robust infrastructure network. In addition, through strategic trade agreements, market access for Nigerian goods and services has been improved, building on our existing partnership across Africa and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, let me just re-emphasize a number of things, especially with respect to the foreign exchange. Now, truth of the matter is that in terms of the foreign exchange market now, I've said a number of things about that. It's more open, more transparent. I hear the issues about the concerns with respect to easy entry, easy exit. That now is relatively a thing of the past. Investment is coming into the sector. Our reserves are growing. As at the end of last year, our reserve position was over 40 billion US, which was the largest number we've had in over 3 years. And let me also hasten to add, because this is another question that seems to come up time without number. The absolute number has grown. In other words, yes, we have more reserves, but also we have grown that organically. And so the quality of our reserves has also improved significantly. Next year, obviously, once the accounts are audited and published, I think all those things will be very clear to everybody exactly what the situation is. But I can assure you we are in a very good place at this point in time. Then also to say that in terms of investment, what I see from my position is an increasing interest from foreign investors, And we had some high-profile ones recently. For example, Amy Diamond, the managing director of one of the largest U.S. banks, also Citibank as well. That was Chase CEO, Chase Morgan CEO visited here. The MD of Citigroup visited here, and a number of others. And they see the opportunities here. Okay, they see foreign investors are seeing the foreign exchange rate a lot more competitive. So while it may appear as a threat in some respects, especially for those of us who are having to deal with a situation where much of what comes in is we have very little by way of exports other than oil, and a lot of much of the goods that we have all dependent on imports, really. But it's an opportunity to diversify, and it's an opportunity for those who have been on the sideline to be interested in coming in. And I can see that interest is getting stronger. Yesterday, I spoke about a very extensive intercourse that I had with the bank CEOs over the new foreign exchange code. And after that, I addressed a significant number of foreign exchange, of foreign investors who had come to the market and normally don't come at this time of the year. When they come towards the end. But this time, because they could see all the changes that were taking place, they came early and they wanted to hear the story. Similarly, in terms of when we went out to raise the 2.2 billion US dollar Eurobond, okay, in Europe, we asked for 2.2 and we were offered over 9 billion US. So the point I'm trying to make here, frankly, is that the numbers speak for themselves. The numbers speak for themselves. So you really don't need to wait for me to tell you these things. If you look around at the numbers, you'll see it's telling a different story. And typically, when that happens, what you find is that it is the smart investors that get in early. Because if you don't do that, by the time you get in, the train has moved on. So I think it's very important to mention this at a forum like this. And also, I would also like to say that one can only but continue to encourage all the hard work and efforts that have come from PEBEC, and the Honorable Minister has blazed an incredible trail in that respect. And I must say, I was extremely impressed to come here today and see a group like this all waiting quite eagerly. And I'm sure you are waiting for longer than you may have expected. I don't know. But the fact that the interest is there is not interest that is misplaced. And I think that the continuation of the very, very hard work that PEBEC has been doing must be encouraged, because it will make for a more seamless entree for the foreign investors who want to come in here, and who rightly too, because the opportunities are here. And I'm giving you the side from the macro that things are beginning to change. Some of the concerns you have had are being addressed, and listening to what was being the presentation that was being made with respect to policy and the way policy has got to be drawn up and created is all showing that the road of travel is very, very positive. And to encourage the new DG of PEBEC to say that we're fully behind you. In conclusion, by continuing to focus on these policies, Nigeria aims to unlock new opportunities for investment in sectors such as agribusiness, manufacturing, technology, and services. As we look to the future, our commitment to enhancing Nigeria's position in global trade remains unwavering. We are creating a stable and predictable macroeconomic environment that will allow investors to thrive and contribute to the long-term prosperity of Nigeria. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for that keynote speech highlighting government's commitment to creating an investor-friendly country, and also for sharing the good news about the backlog of verified claims which will be paid shortly. We are now moving to the question and answer sessions. We have already received some questions ahead of time. I would like to encourage those who have not submitted their questions to please do so to any of the ushers, and the questions will come to us. So first, we will be calling on some people to actually, who we've seen their questions, to actually ask their questions and direct, and let us know who the question is directed at. Please, given that time has been fast spent, we'll ask that your questions be brief, and please ask one question one question only, please. First, we would like to call on Mrs. Neka Ewereji, the MD of Citibank Nigeria. Madam, a mic will come to you now. She's there. Yes, please.
So I'll just sit here.
Okay, that is working. So if that is working, you can please go ahead with the mic, the table mic.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on existing protocol. I wear a couple of hats today. One is being the MD CEO of Citibank Nigeria, but also the Vice President of the American Business Council. Congratulations to the DG Pebec and the Honorable Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment on the first anniversary of this very important dialogue. Just to say that, first of all, Citibank has been a foremost provider and catalyzer of foreign direct investment in Nigeria. 40 years in Nigeria, and FDI ourselves, providing solutions, global market access to, and thought leadership to the government, to FIs, and to the corporates. So I can attest to the fact that the bold and decisive reforms, monetary policy and fiscal policy reforms of the central bank and Ministry of Finance is gaining, it's propelling investor interest and reaction. We are seeing quite a lot, so very interesting. But the points, I want to make a couple of points which are related. One, observation, question, call it that. One is the fact that what are really the decisive steps that we need to take, that need to be taken to ensure better policy cohesiveness amongst the MDAs, to ensure that the investors are not discouraged, and to avoid unintended consequences. And very, very importantly, how do we build alignment or achieve alignment with the distinguished House of Representatives to avoid a multiplicity of reviews, which again, achieves some other unintended consequences. What are the specific steps that will be taken to try and take away those things? I think a couple of these things have been cited in the past, are cited now. I think the reforms are great. They're propelling investor interest and action. But some of these things are, if you may, low-hanging fruits, which we need to walk away with very decisive steps that need to be taken to take away some of this pain and encourage investments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam. The next comment to be taken, that will be from APM Terminals.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity here. Like the former speaker, I actually also wear two hats today, as aside from being the CEO of APM Terminals in Nigeria, I'm also the Vice President of Eurocham, so extremely pleased to be here in both capacities. So APM Terminals is the largest container port operator in Nigeria and also a major foreign investor. And I can safely say that we are among the 2/3 of the surveyed companies that are looking forward to expand our investments in Nigeria. So in working with critical infrastructure, which is our field of business, we very often look at the government as being our first and foremost customer. We have the privilege and honor to operate that critical infrastructure, and therefore they are our first and foremost stakeholder. So therefore my question is really around the outlook for public-private partnerships. What are the opportunities as part of the economic reforms to strengthen these, and what could be some of the challenges? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we'll be taking all the questions first and all the answers. Please, like I had earlier stated, time is fast spent, so would like if the questions are straight to the point so we can have the answers shortly. Next, I will be calling Mr. Adebisi Adeoti of Dow Chemical.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. My name is Adebisi Adeoti from the Dow Chemical Company. I manage the operations in West Africa. And I also, responsible for the Sustainability Working Group of the American Business Council. So this question is not just for our company, but for, American companies under this group. Our work as the Sustainability Working Group is to drive sustainable solutions, in Africa. But what we've not seen so far is regulation to support us. So basically, we're moving circular economic products into the country, and this comes at a price. However, there's no regulation, to balance it up, despite the fact that, Nigeria is championing to be one of the strongest when it comes to circular economy. We work hand in hand with NESRIA and, FRA. So we've not seen incentives, for this. We'd like to know what the plan is, or should we, just continue to look at normal products without the drive of circular economy? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next, I will be calling on Franca Chembela from Lagos Business School.
Hello, good afternoon, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Franca Chambella. I'm an executive in residence at the Lagos Business School, and I also wear many hats. I'm a lawyer specializing in foreign direct investment, and I'm a company director, and I'm also a mediator. My comment and question is directed to the Honorable Minister of International Trade and Investment. And it comes from my experience working for 3 decades in Southeast Asia, based in Singapore, in the area of foreign direct investment. And one of the, and I was part of the transformation, if we can say, of Singapore becoming a developing country to what it is to now a world economic power. And one of the things that, we worked on was the opening of sectors, of opening all sectors to foreign direct investment, with the exception of some sensitive ones in defense, and other sensitive areas, but opening all sectors to foreign direct investment, including finance and law. And then also making it possible to have 100% foreign ownership and control of the board, with the exception of one resident director. So it was really a very, very open environment, and it really contributed to the transformation into a world power ahead of the neighboring countries, which later followed suit, but not to the same extent. And so I look to Nigeria as a potential powerhouse, English-speaking, English common law, young population, and I wonder if looking at something like opening all sectors, making it possible to have 100% ownership, control of your board, wouldn't help in progressing us in the direction we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, I would ask that please submit your questions to the ushers. We're actually waiting for them so we can read them out. Next, I would call on Dr. George Uduku of GE Healthcare.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. My name is Dr. George Uduku. I'm General Manager, West Africa for GE Healthcare. My question is directed to the Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment. With Nigeria's health infrastructure requiring significant investment, how is government encouraging public-private partnerships to fund and manage hospital infrastructure, diagnostic centers, and specialized treatment centers? Are there plans for sovereign-backed guarantees and viability gap funding to de-risk the investments in this sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oduku. Please submit your questions. We're still taking questions, and even if you do not have the opportunity to speak here today, your questions and the answers will be in the report, which will be sent out to everyone in less than a month's time. So I will now hand over to the high table for the response to the questions. Thank you. So apologies. The first two questions, sir, are to you, Your Excellency. Okay. So it says, what specific steps can be taken to achieve the much-needed policy coherence between the MDAs to avoid unintended consequences? Very importantly, I'm just going through, how can we achieve alignment with the House of Reps to reduce, sorry, this was from Citibank, but I think she changed the question. Mrs. Enwereji, if you're still here, your question, please, to the CBN governor so he can take that. Yes.
No, I think it's what you have. It's basically the policy coherence. Okay. It's basically the policy coherence point which we're making between the MDAs, because all these reforms have been done, but it looks like some of them are working at cross purposes. There's no alignment sometimes. And then the second part of it is alignment with the House of Representatives, because sometimes there's just a lot of requests and asks and all that, which keeps all the investors on their toes. So, thank you. Is that clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. So the Honorable Minister will be taking that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's just skip the protocols. Time is money. So for policy coordination, that is why we're here today. All the MDAs, relevant MDAs, are in the room. You heard about the Regulatory Impact Assessment Toolkit. That is another tool for fostering collaboration and making sure that there are no unintended consequences and no policy flip-flops. So the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is working very hard. The adverse consequences of lack of coordination is clear for all to see. He also appointed a special advisor on policy coordination who also leads the delivery unit, Hadiza Bala Osman. So it's ongoing, and a lot of the regulators and agency heads that face the business climate are in the room. The PEBEC has over 18 members, honorable ministers, the CBN governor, a representation from state governments, from the National Assembly and the judiciary. So the PEBEC is the right place for this activity that we're doing today, and the coherence will continue to get progressively better. Thank you. In terms of National Assembly and access to National Assembly, we continue to collaborate and coordinate. As you know, it's a federation, and every arm of government has their role, but you can see the excellencies from the subnational level here with us. The PEBEC, as I said, the membership includes the National Assembly. We have a very good relationship with the chair of the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment, also the House of Reps chair on commerce. So it's ongoing. We work together closely in the past, the Business Facilitation Act, the CAMA, several other pieces of legislation. We all just received a Swiss parliamentary delegation this week. So the collaboration is ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I think we'll just go straight to the question from Noye, Ms. Noye Ojam of Microsoft, so we can just take that and move on. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you very much for holding this forum, which is the second edition. I think the first session we had these engagements, and I think one of the main things that we're looking forward to is how we move on from here to action. Just like most of the speakers before me, I wear a dual hat. I'm the Director for Government Affairs at Microsoft, but I also chair the ICT committee at the ABC, at the American Business Council. My question is very similar to the Vice President of the American Business Council, and it is really around policy implementation. Without meaning to overflog the issue around policy inconsistencies and what that means for the business environment, I think I'd like to stretch that question a bit more to how we can begin to take actionable steps towards implementation. Because a lot of times we find that policies are issued, and when it comes back to us as the recipients or consumers of these policies, the effect of these policies, a lot of times we're having to give feedback to the implementers of these policies. I can see the documents. I think what we're sharing here is our experience, what our experience has been. And we are looking forward to what the reforms would look like. But I think just having that harmonization across MDAs will be very helpful. Beyond us being advocates for our companies, I think we also need to be mindful that we are advocates for Nigeria before our companies. And one of the easiest and most straightforward way to position our country in the way that would make business sense for anyone would be the policy environment. And this is why we strongly advocate for progressive and enabling environments such that there is clarity and when we're making business decisions, we are clear on what those outcomes eventually look like for us. But as I mentioned, thank you very much for this engagement, and we're hoping that we'll begin to see the real impact of those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. There is actually on the high table from Immigration. She wants to make a response to the question on visa. Yes, visa issuance. Ma, you can please go ahead.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on existing protocol to make a response to the issue of visa issuance at our missions. Actually, our visas are quite specific, and they are simple. For fees, it is based on reciprocity, so nobody can complain about visa fees for now. Our guide is the visa policy, the Nigerian visa policy, and you can see that I'm going to give you just a simple example of a single entry visa. The requirements are so simple that you cannot complain about it. This is a single visa entry. What are the requirements? The passport, which every national should have. Then you talk of 2 passport photographs. You talk of a return ticket, which is what you will need to travel to wherever you are going and return. Then evidence of sufficient fund, evidence of hotel accommodation. These are very, very simple requirements to get the Nigerian visa. So I am really surprised that there is a complaint on visa issuance at our missions. Moreover, the NIS has invested so much on training, hostmanship, so that it's not a matter of getting the visa alone. We want to be sure that when you enter Nigeria as well, you are treated perfectly well. We are the gate men of the country. We want to be sure that when you come in, first impression, they say, matters a lot. So that when you come in, our personnel will handle you well. You have no complaints about that. Also, this visa policy, you see, has even been reviewed last year, and the president has also approved it for use. Very soon it will be made public. All this, a lot of things, we are bringing in more ease to our visa issuance so that we can also make our own quota, contribute our quota to ease of doing business. So if you have any issues, even at the airport, we always go by the rule of see something, say something. If you have any issues with our personnel, always make a report, and the new Controller General, I'll tell you, we handle these things strictly. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So I will just read 2 questions for the CBN governor. Your Excellency, the questions say, how can the subnationals, so for credit enhancement, that's what they're asking about, how can the subnationals deal with providing guarantees for foreign investment when banks are asking for 100% cash bank guarantees? Then the second question is, when will the issuance of payment licenses resume?
Okay, thank you. Well, look, the answer to the first question, frankly, is it would seem to me that what is important in this is the relationship between the bank and the entity that is asking for the guarantee. That's it, because definitely it cannot be that the banks will always be asking for 100% collateral. It cannot be. Depending on that relationship and depending on the extent of the strength of the credit risk that the bank is taking will determine the sort of collateral they ask for. I'm confident that that is the case. So I think that is one. And I think there has to be an increasing desire for the banking system to ensure that they also move away from just security lending. The banks need to understand the transactions, they need to understand the institutions or entities they are dealing with, so that the security is really a backup, if at all. And even apart from what you're saying, whether it's subnationals or not, that is the general philosophy of which the credit within the banking system has been based and will increasingly be focused on. And then the second one was?
Second question, sir, was the issuance of payment, issuance of payment licenses.
Yes. Good one. Now, let me say that where we are heading to right now is we are taking a very holistic view of, that payment license architecture. It's very important that we do so. And the impact it has on other businesses and the impact that the interplay between the various sectors and subsectors. We are going to have a summit in another month or 2, where after taking a holistic view of this, we'll be able to come out more definitely with respect to the road ahead.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to crave your indulgence for the first question. The person who wrote it said he would like to give more context, that because he sees it from a regulatory point of view. So I'd like to crave your indulgence.
All right, Your Excellency, thank you so much for obliging me. My name is Tehemin John Paul Benkan. I'm the Executive Secretary, Benue Investment Promotion Agency. Now, we've been actively trying to attract investment to pursue the aspirations of my governor to diversify the economy. Yeah, and then some of these funds and the opportunities that have come through are, foreign investments. So over a long period of time now, we've been having forward and back conversations with the banks, and we're pretty much stuck on what, to the best of our understanding, has not been expressly captured in the regulations. For instance, we've got funding opportunities from from private investors who, of course, will not send money except through the banks. Now, they're requiring things as simple as an RWA, which is not a financial instrument, just an email. And the banks are not, moving forward with that. And then when we move to the conversation of an SBLC, the banks are asking for 100%, cash-backed guarantee to be able to carry that sort of transaction, which of course is going into productive activities. Now, if we do not enhance credit, I'm afraid that the conversation about investments and productivity, diversification of economy is pretty much just going to be lip service. This is a very important issue, which is why I begged for the microphone to be able to provide this context and to get us, because I've looked at the books, there's no express statement or regulation from the CBN that says no bank can issue an RWA. But the banks are also saying there's no express regulation that says we can issue an RWA, or we can do an SBLC without 100% cash back. That's a huge problem. We're stuck there, and I'll really appreciate if you can address this. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, but frankly, my response is the same. Banks are at liberty to determine their level of risk appetite. We cannot determine whether a bank must take 100% cash collateral to issue an SBLC or not. I don't see that there's anything that has changed from what I've said. I think it does depend on the relationship you have with the bank, and you may well be dealing with banks that really are not focused in a particular area you're looking at. So I think the bigger challenge is perhaps to look at those banks that are and see how they can partner with you to ensure that they are able to achieve your own objectives.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We have a question for the Honorable Minister of Technology, Science and Technology. So the question says, how does the ministry plan to foster innovation and entrepreneurship to make Nigeria a more attractive destination for foreign investors? Okay. Apologies for that. I thought he was still on here. So he's gone, and so all the questions here would be taken and answered in the reports that will be distributed within the next 1 month. I would please ask, okay.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So there are a couple of questions. There's healthcare infrastructure and whether there will be sovereign-backed guarantees. Even though it's the social sector, we all know what the government's fiscals are at the moment and what we're trying to deliver. So we're also asking private sector, high risk, very high returns. So I can't speak for the Minister of Finance, but sovereign-backed guarantees is not what we're looking for private sector to be looking for from the government. We're looking for partnership to deepen the services in those sectors, and there is money to be made. And so again, as the central bank governor just said, risk appetite for private sector would also be important. I just wanted to mention on the visa issue, having worked on visas on arrival and reducing the cost and time of issuance of visas and other such reforms, we're not a defensive government. There's clearly a lot of room for improvement, and we take the points. So we take the point. So we'll be working on making it progressively easier to get the visas on arrival. We also take the point that the Nigerian Immigration Service has been working hard at simplifying. There have been several improvements over the last few years. So we'll continue to work on these. In terms of foreign ownership and control, to the best of my knowledge, Nigerian businesses can be foreign 100% owned. Control with Corporate Affairs Commission, I believe you need at least one director that's Nigerian. But we can check on that. But to my mind, there's so much to do, whether with Nigerians or not, that I'm not sure that's really the priority in terms of investment in a climate like this, with over 200 million people, with several sectors open for business. I think that foreign ownership is not what is crucial in terms of control and ownership. And I think that there's several businesses, including all the businesses in this room, doing business with Nigerians and collaborating very well. So I don't think that doing business with Nigerians or being foreign owned is what's going to deepen this economy at this time. I may be wrong, it worked for Singapore, but Nigeria is also a different climb. In terms of policy consistency, there have been actionable steps, I think, for nearly a decade. I've worked on ease of doing business. We have over 200 verifiable reforms. We've been acknowledged by the World Bank Ease of Doing Business ranking. And it's a work in progress. But we spent quite a bit of time working on this document, which speaks to exactly that. Please read it. Please encourage the ministries, departments, and agencies that worked on this. What this document is saying is that there's now a framework in Nigeria for the first time that will be effective in February through the Office of the Secretary to the Federal Government, and will make sure that every ministry, department, and agency goes through a checklist before new regulations are released. And we believe that this is an actionable step that will help in policy consistency and avoiding unintended consequences. So please support us, trust the process. We're working hard for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Please, for people who have questions and haven't submitted, please, you could give the questions to the ushers, because the plan is to address every question that everyone has in this room. If not today, those questions will be incorporated into the report, which will be sent to everyone, and the answers will be in that report. So please ensure to just pass the question slip to any of the ushers next to you, or you can hand it over to me to ensure that your question is answered. Thank you. We have moved quite fast, especially when it comes to this question and answer session. Right now, we thank everyone for the questions, for the people who have submitted their questions, and we believe that you have gotten good responses to that. And where you are not satisfied, please see us put the questions down, and we would ensure that would be answered. I will now invite my co-moderator, who will take the next segment.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will now be taking the goodwill messages from the state governors. So this is an opportunity for the state governors to share with us the unique investment opportunities that are available in their states, and also the initiatives the state is taking to attract foreign investment. The first goodwill message will be taken by His Excellency, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, the Executive Governor of Benue State.
Your Excellencies, all captains of industries, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed investors and honored guests, I feel quite privileged and at the same time thrilled to present Benue State, the food basket of the nation, to you and every import for you to come and invest in there. Our state is truly ripe for investment, and we are eager to partner with you to unlock its vast potentials. You may know that Benue State is strategically located in the heart of Nigeria, making it an ideal hub for businesses and looking to expand their reach across the nation. And our state is quite blessed with an abundance of natural resources, including fertile soil, vast water resources, and favorable climate. We recognize that a favorable business environment is quite crucial for investment, and that's why we are committed to creating an enabling environment that supports businesses and encourages growth. And we are working tirelessly to improve our infrastructure, streamline our regulatory processes, and provide incentives for you investors. Our administration has identified key sectors that are ripe for investment. These include agriculture, which we are very huge on. And with our rich soil and favorable climate, Benue State is an ideal location for agricultural investment. We are looking for partners to invest in crops such as soybeans, livestock farming, grains, and amongst many others. Then the processing and manufacturing. We are seeking investors to establish processing and manufacturing plants in the state, taking advantage of our abundant natural resources and also the strategic location we bear. I know we do have lots of solid minerals as well, which are very highly untapped. On tourism as well, Benue State is home to several tourist attractions, including the Benue National Park and the Katsina Ala River. We invite you to develop our tourism infrastructure and showcase our natural beauty to the entire world. In fact, to demonstrate our commitment to supporting high-impact investors, I am pleased to announce that we will provide personalized support and guidance throughout the investment process. We will handhold investors, providing necessary assistance and facilitation to ensure a seamless and successful investment experience. And furthermore, we are willing to offer waivers and incentives where necessary to support investors to overcoming any challenges they may face. And our goal is to create a win-win situation for both you investors and the state. We believe that Benue State has the potential to becoming a major economic hub in Nigeria. And we invite you to join us on this journey. Our administration is committed to transparency, accountability, and good governance, ensuring that your investments are very safe and quite secure. And so I extend this invitation to you to please visit Benue State, explore our investment opportunities, and partner with us to unlock the vast potentials of our state, so that together we can create a brighter future for our people and drive economic growth in our nation. You're very welcome to Benue State at any given hour at all. You'll be safe, and all your investments will be most safe. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Governor of Benue State, for the assurance and support, and also the assurance of incentives to investors seeking to invest in Benue State. Permit me to invite His Excellency, Dr. Peter Mba, the Executive Governor of Enugu State.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to also adopt the already established protocol. The day is fast spent. I am very delighted to be at this Roundtable Foreign Direct Investors. I'm also particularly excited, and that excitement, it's predicated on what the DG Pebec said earlier on. The amount of money in this room can also perceive the aroma. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to take some of this money with me as I go back to Enugu. Let me immediately commend the DG Pebec and her team, the Office of the Vice President, for facilitating this investors forum. I want to say that for us in Enugu State, we have made an ambitious growth projection. So you can see why the importance of a forum like this for us cannot be overemphasized. We came in with a growth projection of a sevenfold. So we hope to grow our economy sevenfold in the next 6 years. That's quite huge. A compounded annual growth rate of 27%. But we recognized immediately that that growth would come from private sector, from investors like the people sitting in this room. So investment for us is like the lifeblood of our growth. And then we have also set forth as dawn, as basically as government, we've been able to try to put frameworks, put policies, and also ensure that there is the ease of doing business in Enugu. Enugu has a rich and long history. Enugu at some point, as most of us may already know, was the economic hub of this country over 115 years ago, and was also at several times the administrative hub. So what we're essentially doing is to try and bring her back to that preeminent state. We said that we want Enugu to be the premier destination of investment, businesses, tourism, and of course, living. And of course, the growth we even speak about as a country, we recognize that that growth would happen from the peripheral, from the subnationals. And for us in Enugu, we know that the investment will not happen because we wish it to happen. So we just can't wish it into existence. We recognize the fact that we need to work closely with the prospective investors to see how we can help them de-risk, not just creating the enabling environment, but also de-risk the investment flow. So that is why we're most times interested in having our skin in the game. We've curated quite a number of projects across different sectors to bankability. So if you're coming to Enugu, we're going to be presenting you with opportunities that you may not need to spend so much time doing detailed feasibility, because we've not just only done a concept note or pre-feasibility, we've also done in most of these projects full feasibility, and you can take these feasibilities to bank because they were done by competent person. And so we have also, as government, been able to invest hugely in infrastructure because, given, frankly, my background being business, I understand that businesses are not charity. They are not Father Christmas. They are interested in returns on investment. And so, which is why we would get involved with them, understand fully how we can work with them to de-risk certain aspects of whether it's finance or commercial. We've had quite a number of FDIs that have come into Enugu within the last 1 year, and the way we've made this work is largely based on looking at, we're not sure about the commerciality of this business. How do we work with the state government? In some cases, we provide the offtake that they need to make that entry. And we've had quite a number of companies that have come into Enugu as their first entry point to the country. And so my job here today is to encourage all of you to understand that Enugu is open for business. That is what I'm here to do, to also inform you that we're going to work with you every step of the way. We're not going to abandon you. And when it comes to transparency, that again you can take for granted. It's in our DNA. We work with you to ensure that we work out a structure that it makes sense for the business. My team and I understand the value of being accountable, being transparent, making sure that the investors have access to the right information. In terms of having a one-stop shop, the Enugu State Investment Development Authority is that one-stop shop where we can help you. Enugu being an old city, we're fortunate to have almost all the federal government regulatory agencies in Enugu. So in just one location, you're able to be attended to. So in terms of registering your business, we'll shield you from all the other federal agencies. We'll take up your application and ensure that you get all the necessary licenses and approvals that you need. When it comes to construction permits and, of course, procuring your title documents, if you are going to be interested in land, that also happens seamlessly. In Enugu, from applying for your title document and getting issued your title document takes 72 hours through our Enugu Geographic Information System. And some weeks ago, I signed a land regulation law, which enables an applicant monitor or benchmark the service provider based on the number of hours. Under our land regulation law, we have stated the number of hours you need for every land application you make. and where to escalate if it exceeds that. So we've also built some measurable indicators into the law. So in a nutshell, there are a huge number of sectors you can invest in Enugu. Enugu, with its abundance waterfalls, network of caves, lends itself favorably as the #1 tourism destination in this country. And again, with our scenic landscape, you couldn't think of anywhere else to visit in terms of tourism. In terms of real estate, we're essentially doing the single largest real estate in this country today, I would say. We're building the Enugu New City, which is fully serviced, and by all means, I would urge everyone here in this room to take advantage of huge investment opportunities that is available. So all the infrastructure is provided in this new Enugu City. You have your electricity, you have your water, you have your internet, a high-speed internet access. So we're running fiber, we're running gas, a central sewage system. So everything is serviced. And we also essentially have districts for those who want to build their industries and site their money. In the last 6 months, we have the European Industrial Park, the European Business Park in Enugu, where again you just need to walk in with your briefcase and set up. The warehouses are there. You don't need to come with your power. You don't need to come with your water. It's already made. So in terms of disposable income, I don't need to flog the fact that we're by far the state that invests by far the largest in the social sector. And the idea for us is to see how we can allow our people more disposable income. In Enugu State, this year alone, we're going to be spending close to $1 trillion on our capex, right? So imagine that you're coming into a city or a state where you have over $1 trillion naira being spent. I'm sure as a manufacturer, you want to have some of that money. We're going to be spending over 30% of that money to ensure that our social sector is strong. Again, we understand certain things that businesses cannot absorb, things like security. Arguably, Enugu is by far the safest city to live in today in this country. We've built a robust security architecture that allows you, that enables us from our command and control center. We have a clear line of sight of what is going on in the state, not just within the city, but I dare say across the entire state, all our gateways, our forests, we are able to pick any target wherever they are in the city. So we have also, all these cameras are AI, by the way, AI embedded. You must have heard about our smart green school. That's again our intervention in the education sector. We're building experiential learning centers. These centers are where for us the gown and the town embrace themselves. So we have our professors in the university training our young people to equip them with relevant skills that the industries within Enugu need. So in terms of labor and skill set, we're quite huge on that. So you don't need to import your skills when you're coming into Enugu. We have quite a number of innovation incubation hubs where again we nurture our young talents. Again, for some of us who may not have had the opportunity to visit Enugu, we're churning out over 40,000 ICT skilled young professionals every year in Enugu. We have by far the most robust BPOs, the business process outsourcing In fact, the ICT enabled also, they're all taking place in Enugu. And I'm only told I have less than 10 minutes to pitch Enugu, but we could go on if I have more time. But we're going to stay back. My CEO of the State Investment Development Authority is with me. We're going to take questions, be able to provide clarifications on different sectors, whether it's agriculture. We have 300,000 land bank. So if you're interested in agriculture, you don't need to come and start looking for land. In the last 6 months, we've been able to work with those interested in commercial farming. We've given up to 64,000 commercial farmland. We still have quite a lot left. So these things are already made. The DG talked about customized incentives, and that is what we're interested in. We work with you to understand what your business may require in order for you to set up. How would you be able to make money? How would you be able to ensure that there is good return on investment? And that's like what we are interested in as government. If you are looking for a trusted local partner, that state that you must come is Enugu, because we're going to be with you all the way. So I urge our investor here, I'm going to stay back. My team will stay back. We're willing to take your questions on the different sectors that you may want to invest in. But thank you very much. And let me also finally say, Enugu is open for business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Governor of Enugu State. Thanks for the emphasis on transparency and improved service delivery in Enugu State. So I will now be calling on His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Osun State, Prince Kola Adewusi.
Your Excellencies, Captain of Industries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for want of time, I want to seek your indulgence to adopt the already established protocols. Before I go on to the goodwill message of my principal, His Excellency, Dr. Asiwaju Ademola Jackson Adeleke, please may I be permitted to make one or two remarks. First of all, I want to thank the Vice President, Bibeb, and the Honorable Minister for putting this meeting together. It is not only enough to invite investors to come down to Nigeria. We should be able to put a policy in place that will actually checkmate the activities of these investors. How do I mean? When investors come into the country, taking advantage of our population and all that we have, we've all listened to the Governor of Central Bank, all the efforts the government is putting in place to attract investors. But at the same time, are we duly monitoring the activities of these investors so that they comply with our existing policies? So that at the end of the day, it will not be like our incomes are going down the drain in respect of over-invoicing, maybe under, declaration. That is all that I have to say, so that you should put that in your policy paper too.
It is with great honor and sense of responsibility that I stand before you today, representing the dynamic people and rich heritage of Osun State. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of this Foreign Direct Investment Roundtable for creating this platform to deliberate on a matter so critical to our nation's economic future. As we gather here to chart a course for expanding and promoting investment opportunities in Nigeria, we are not just shaping economic policies, we are crafting a vision for shared prosperity, growth, and resilience in a world of ever-changing dynamics. Nigeria is a land of incredible potential with its abundant natural resources, young and vibrant population, and strategic geographical location. Our nation is poised to become a global economic powerhouse. Yet for too long, this potential has remained underutilized. This roundtable serves as a pivotal moment for us to explore how we can unleash the power of collaboration between government, investors, and other stakeholders. Allow me to turn your attention to Osun State, a state rich in history, culture, and immense opportunity. Osun is home to a highly skilled workforce, a serene environment, and a people known for their resilience and creativity. We pride ourselves on being a source of Nigeria's diversity and potential, with sectors ripe for investment in agriculture, mining, technology, tourism, and infrastructure. Our administration is unwavering in its commitment to creating a business-friendly environment. In Osun, through Osun State Investment Promotion Agency, OSIPA, we have implemented policies that prioritize ease of doing business, transparency, and accountability. Our goal is simple: to make Osun State the preferred destination for foreign and domestic investments. With our fertile land and favorable climate, Osun offers untapped opportunities in agribusiness. We are working to develop value chains in cocoa, cassava, and other crops with significant room for mechanization and export-oriented processing. Our administration recently procured several tractors to enhance mechanized farming. Osun is rich in mineral resources, including gold, granite, and limestone. We are committed to harnessing these resources sustainably through partnership with investors, ensuring value additions and local community development. It will interest you to say that we have acquired 19 mining licenses within Osun, Ogun, Kogi, Ebonyi, Niger, Zamfara, Kaduna, Kwara, and Oyo states. We are soliciting for investors for these licenses. I want to assure you all that our licenses are not only valid, they are free of charges. We've all paid service charges up to date, so we are set to accommodate investors in mineral exploration, mining, as well as mineral processing. In the areas of tourism, Osun is the custodian of Nigerians' cultural heritage, from the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove to our vibrant festivals. With the right investments, we can transform our state into a global tourist destination, creating jobs and preserving our cultural assets. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that the future belongs to innovation. We are fostering a tech-friendly ecosystem by promoting digital literacy, supporting startups, and collaborating with global tech firms to build the next generation of entrepreneurs in Osun. On infrastructural development, no economy can thrive without robust infrastructure. Our administration prioritizes roads and housing projects to support industrial growth. We invite investors to join us in public-private partnership through the Osun Investment Promotion Agency to bridge critical infrastructure gaps. To our international investors and partners, I assure you that Nigeria, and particularly Osun State, is open for business. We understand your concerns about security, governance, and policy consistency, and we are taking deliberate steps to address these challenges. In Osun, we have established one-stop investment desk to facilitate quick access to information and provide seamless support to investors. We also offer incentives, including tax breaks and land acquisition facilitation, to ensure your investment yield competitive returns. More importantly, our government is committed to fostering dialogue with investors, ensuring that your voice is heard and your concerns are addressed promptly. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of Nigeria lies in our ability to collaborate and innovate. As investors, policymakers, and development partners, we hold the keys to unlocking this potential. Let us seize this moment to build partnership that will transform our economy, empower our people, and set Nigeria on the path to sustainable development. Osun State is ready to play its part in this journey. We invite you to be part of our story of success, resilience, and shared prosperity. Together, let us build a brighter, more prosperous Nigeria. Thank you all, and may our collective efforts yield enduring success. God bless Osun State, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It seems that the CG of Custom is from Osun State. Thank you, Your Excellencies, for showing us the opportunities that exist in the states and the government's willingness in the states to actually encourage investors to come to the states. Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite the Honorable Minister of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment and the Vice Chair of PEBEC, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, for the closing speech. Please join me in welcoming with a round of applause the Honorable Minister of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. Thank you. The day is fast spent, and I know to many of you time is money. But just to bring greetings from the chair of the PEBEC, His Excellency the Vice President, who was delegated by his boss, who is also out of the country on national assignment. So he would have been here, and greetings from him. Your Excellencies, the governors and the Deputy Chief of Staff, blah, 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 you know the drill, all protocols. Just to say that I would like to especially appreciate our esteemed captains of industry and the organized private sector, also representatives of the diplomatic corps, for taking the time to be with us in Abuja today. Many of you have to fly here, it costs money, it takes time, but you continue to believe in the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and you continue to come when we call, and you continue to listen to us. So thank you very much for being here. I'd also like to recognize the heads of agencies who have done quite a bit of work to put together the regulatory impact assessment framework with their teams. And I'd like to congratulate the Director General of the PEBEC Secretariat. I'm so proud of her already. This is her maiden outing. This is her maiden outing. And the PEBEC Secretariat team, I feel like a parent today. So please allow me that luxury. Much has been said. I'd just like to go straight to talking about the areas that came up today. the multinational perspective from investors working in Nigeria. We're gratified that over 70% of American businesses viewed this administration's reforms positively and welcome this continuous engagement. I'm so glad you were all able to hear from the central bank governor himself, and he gave us a lot of time and a lot of concrete information, which answered, I know, many of your questions. Eurocham talked about the movement of people and how important that is for investment, and we've noted that. Nigeria-Indonesia Chamber of Commerce welcomed also this platform and appreciates the administration's reforms, programs, and collaboration, and talked about trade facilitation, movement of goods, and optimizing the AFCFTA agreement. I'm so glad that our Chinese colleague, Happy Chinese New Year, and thank you for spending the time with us. And thank you for wishing us more money, richer, 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 everybody getting richer, both Chinese businesses and especially businesses operating in Nigeria. So whether Chinese, Nigerian, whatever nationality, as long as you're making money here in Nigeria and creating productive jobs, all the best wishes for more money. The Franco-Nigeria Chamber of Commerce, I was actually with them yesterday, and he talked about sustainability, sustainable government policies, fair tax reforms. We all know where the tax bill is now, and we're all looking forward to that. So just to speak for the fiscal end, you can be rest assured that the reforms will continue. You heard about the monetary end, and we're here for the trade and competitiveness and investment reforms. So collaboration really works, and I think in summary, last week I was in Davos, and I met with Mr. Adebayo Ogunlesi, the chair of Global Infrastructure Partners and a new board member of OpenAI. And we discussed his commitment to supporting Nigerian investment drive, and his offer to lead a Nigerian investment group that would come here twice a year, bringing leading investors to the world. I think that speaks to the power of what you in this room are doing. Because if you did not invest in Nigeria and stay in Nigeria, you're actually the best advertisement that we have for anyone to look at this economy. No matter what, if you don't believe in the reforms of this administration and the work that has been put in over the last 20 months, if you don't continue to turn up in large numbers like this and make your voices heard, there's no way an investor as shrewd as Mr. Ogunlesi would offer himself and his reputation to lead other investors to come to Nigeria. So thank you very much. I think with that, my work is done. In closing, I'll just say that enough said. We have listened. We'll continue to prioritize investment retention and investment attraction. We're also working very hard on consolidating on our trade policy, including optimizing the AFCFTA. We know where this economy is competitive. We know the sectors you operate in. And we're committed to making sure that you will prosper here, that your businesses will grow and scale, and that from here you will export whether goods or services to the rest of Africa and the world. Thank you very much for continuing to engage with us, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, for letting us know the prioritization of investment that is key for this government, this administration. Your Excellencies, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the picture session. For the picture session, the ushers will guide you to the designated area to ensure that the process is organized. So I'll be calling out the order of pictures. So the first order of pictures would be the state governors, ministers, the Deputy Chief of Staff, and the DG of the PEBEC. Please, could we clear the front of the stage for the photographers to be able to capture the pictures? Thank you. Please, could we clear? So joining them on stage, I'll be calling on the heads of departments and agencies, permanent secretaries, and government officials. Heads of departments and agencies, permanent secretaries, and government officials, please join the state governors and ministers on the high table. So we're calling on heads of departments and agencies and permanent secretaries. So I'll now be calling on representatives of the subnational governments in the room. Please join them on stage. So I'll be calling on the Chambers of Commerce and Business Councils to please join them on stage. So I would ask the heads of departments, agencies, permanent secretaries, and other government officials to please leave the stage so that the Chambers of Commerce and Business Council will join the state governors and ministers. So calling on the Chambers of Commerce and Business Council. Please, could we have the Chambers of Commerce and Business Councils stay in position for the pictures, please? These individuals standing in front of the stage, please kindly clear the stage so they can take the pictures, please. Please, could we clear the stage so the photographers can take pictures? If you want to take personal pictures, you can stand behind the official photographers for this program, please. As the Chambers of Commerce and Business Councils are leaving the stage, we'll call on the PEBEC reform champions to join the honorable ministers and state governors on stage. So we're calling on the reform champions to please join them on stage for pictures. So we're calling on reform champions to join the state governors and ministers on stage. We're asking the Chambers of Commerce and Business Council members to please leave the stage. Kindly refrain from standing in front of the stage. This is to allow the official photographers take the pictures. Please, can we descend from the stage to allow the reform champions to take their pictures? We can have some reform champions at the bottom of the stage. The photographers would be able to capture regardless. Can we kindly refrain from blocking the photographers? Okay, thank you very much. So every other attendee can come forward to take pictures. We'll take those in batches, please. Please allow the ushers to guide how you stand on stage for the rest of the pictures. Just before everyone leaves the stage, lunch is available. There's VIP lunch available. So the VIPs will take their lunch first.